Hello, and thank you so much for joining me today. I'm 𝗤𝗫𝗍, self-care strategist for female entrepreneurs, and I help women like you transform daily stress and constant overwhelm into clarity and calm while creating space for personal fulfillment. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about how you are pushing too hard and you are ignoring the signs. And I'm going to address the hidden dangers so that you learn how to recognize your signs that are happening right before your eyes before it's too late, so that you're not missing quality time with your kids when they get home from school and they're excited to tell you about their day, or so that you stop missing out on that quality time with your husband and building that bond, so that when you become empty nesters, you still have a strong connection that will have you growing into your golden years with more love and joy that you could ever imagine. And so that you're not always on at work and driving yourself into exhaustion and don't have any time for fun because your life revolves around your work. We're going to explore 3 key areas. We're going to explore identifying when you're crossing the line between healthy productivity and harmful overexertion, and understanding how this is the first step. When you start to understand these signs, you start to recognize them, that it will help you prevent going into those overwhelming and stressful days where you're anxious and you're working all the time, you're always on. You want to protect your time and your energy, your well-being. I'll explain why it's really important to pay attention to your signs. Like I said, these are your signs, and what happens when we ignore the signs that are right before our very eyes, which could lead to that overworking piece, which in turn could potentially lead to burnout, affecting not only yourself, but your relationships as well. And finally, I'll share an actionable strategy that you can start using today to set healthy time and energy boundaries, including holding yourself accountable so that you prioritize your self-care and you maintain a balanced approach to your work and life. My hope is you'll feel more empowered to take control of your time, your energy, and your well-being, because it's really important. And at the end, of course, as always, I'll leave you with some reflective questions to help you dive deeper into understanding your own needs so you can start creating a life filled with more balance, fulfillment, and overall quality. So first, let's talk about recognizing the signs. When we're passionate about our work, or simply we feel overwhelmed by our responsibilities, it's really easy to push ourselves beyond healthy limits, especially if you are, a high-achieving woman who's got her business is thriving, or she wants her business to thrive, and she's really a high achiever. She has, you have those set specifics, that you have set standards for yourself and how you show up every day, and you hold yourself accountable to those. But sometimes at the level where you find yourself pushing boundaries of time and pushing your energy so that you don't have any, and at the end of the day you fall into bed exhausted and you have to do it all over again the next day. But how do we know when we've crossed the line from being productive to overexerting ourselves? Because understanding the early signs is really crucial for maintaining balance and preventing burnout. So the first one, and it's because I really feel it's one of the most important things that is an asset for you in business, is self-care. So when you're pushing too hard, that's when your self-care practices like taking those breaks, exercising, your nutrition, even enjoying just a moment for your quiet moment for yourself, just to slip away and just to kind of re-energize. That's a sign. Those are signs of you pushing too hard. You might even find yourself skipping your meals, right? Working late into the night, falling into bed completely exhausted, missing out on those quality moments with your family around the dinner table because you can't spare the time to go and sit with them. So they're sitting alone at the dinner table discussing their day, and you are still in your office working. And you fall into bed again exhausted. You've missed out on some key moments in your personal life, and you only to repeat the same cycle the next day. Another indicator is when boundaries between your work and your personal life begin to blur. So you might begin saying, you might find yourself saying yes to everything and everyone, and overextending yourself to the point where you feel you have no personal time left. And this can lead to a sense of resentment, overwhelm, anxiety as you struggle to manage all the demands placed on you. Another indicator is your emotional symptoms. They can also signal overexertion. So if you're feeling constantly irritable, like you're snapping at your loved ones over things that really wouldn't bother you, or have just really never really bothered you at all, but now they're starting to bother you. You're starting to find flaws in maybe your significant other that were maybe endearments, but now they're no longer endearments, they're flaws to you because you're just totally stressed, you're overwhelmed, you're on the verge of burnout, and you might not even really understand that you're on the verge of burnout, but that is where you most likely are, because you're in those stages of overwhelm, anxiety, exhaustion, no time for anything else but your business or your work. And there's no time for family, there's no time for fun, and you're just totally stressed to the max. And those are really signs for you to know that something needs to change. Your emotions are going to be key indicators to you. Your body will also chime in if you do not pay attention to the emotional side of it, to how you feel. If you just push through and saying just one more thing, one more minute, you are going to find yourself, your emotions are how you're feeling is going to translate. It's going to then manifest in your body. I can say from personal experience, I've shared about this on previous live videos, that when I can remember back in as far as my early 20s, when I was first starting out as a legal assistant, and I'd been really working hard and pushing, thinking I had all the energy. But what ended up happening was I pushed myself to exhaustion. I felt like I had no life, and I ended up having a panic attack in the office. And then from that proceeded my body, because I had been ignoring those signs that were there, and not taking care of myself. When my body started to manifest hives. I started getting hives, and I also developed an intolerance to milk products. So I became lactose intolerant. So this is how my body started to respond, because I wasn't paying attention to the signs of the stress and what it was doing to me and how I was feeling. And then my body started to kick in. So to kick in and say, like, wait a second, like, alert, you need to pay attention. So if you're neglecting your own needs and your emotions to get things done, it's a red flag that you're pushing yourself too hard. And I know I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. If you're watching this, that this is what you're doing, that you're pushing yourself to exhaustion. You're pushing yourself too hard. You're allowing yourself to be on all the time. You don't know when to switch it off. You don't know how to incorporate your day in a way to structure your day in a way that really supports you. And you find yourself at the end of your day so exhausted that you don't have time for anything else, not anything else or anyone else. So it's really important that you start to really, really start looking at how you are living your life. Because if you do want more joy and you want more time, you want to feel more energized, you want to be focused, you want to have room and time for quality time to build those bonds with your children while they're young, and help them to grow up to be really great individuals going out into the world, so that they're good. And then having that relationship with your significant other, so that when you become an empty nester, you're not looking at each other saying, well, what do we do now? Who are you? And trying to have to get to know each other all over again because you didn't have the time. So that's something I want you to really think about. Also, neglecting our basic needs. We sacrifice that when we're overexerted. We start to skip our meals. We start to neglect our sleep. We ignore the need for breaks. And when I say neglecting our sleep, I mean that we're not paying attention to setting ourselves up for a good night's rest by allowing ourselves to unwind, so that we're not going into bed with monkey mind and trying to, turn our brain off, or not getting the adequate rest or breaks throughout your day, and you're always pushing through, that your body and your brain and everything, you just become physically, emotionally, mentally exhausted. These are common, when we're in overdrive, especially if we're hyperachievers, or we're high achievers, I should say, and we're not necessarily trying, but we are working to create bigger and better and more, but we end up not taking care of ourselves. We risk falling into a cycle of burnout, and we don't recognize it because we feel like, this is what we're doing, this is what we're striving for, this is the goal, and we need to work hard to make it happen. It's really easy to fall into that mindset of just one more task, or I'll take a break when I'm done. But at that moment, I should say, it rarely comes around, and those consequences that I've talked about, they pile up. Also working through exhaustion. I've talked about that. You push through your fatigue. It's another warning sign. When you find yourself too tired to think clearly, but you keep going because there's just so much to do, that's a sign that you're ignoring your body's signals to rest. And this kind of behavior not only affects your productivity, but it also puts your health at risk. So you need to really understand that it's not about if I keep doing this, or it might happen to me. It's if you keep doing this, it's going to happen to you. These things are going to happen. You're going to end up where your body and your mind are going to push back and say, I can't do this anymore. I can't take this anymore. So I want to ask you, are you noticing any of these signs that I've talked about, any of these symptoms in your own life? Are you pushing through your days? You're so overwhelmed because there's so much to do. And so you push through to exhaustion. You don't take your breaks, and you believe if you just get it done already, that it will free up your time. I understand what you're going through. I understand how you feel because I know what that feels like when I had my own recent experience. Now, this was around emotional burnout because I had been putting so much time and energy into my mother because there were things going on in our lives. You know, I had lost a family member, and I stood up to be the strong one in the family, didn't allow myself the time to grieve. And for 8 months, I allowed myself to just keep taking it more of the emotions, more of the feelings, more of the negativity, more of being the strong one, more of the person that wasn't taking care of herself, but making sure that everyone else's needs were met, including my mom, my brother, and at the time there were some other personal things going on. And this just all pushed me to the point where I really actually had a stop sign. I call it a stop sign, but it was a proverbial stop sign that came right up in front of my face. And it was one day when I was getting ready to go on a call with someone, and my power went out. And I looked outside, and the hydro guys were outside, and they were changing the hydro lines because I guess they were old. I didn't find that out until I went outside, but I come to find out it was going to be a 3-hour process. And I didn't realize at that time I was really stressed and anxious, and I was irritated that this was happening. And I even asked the question, like, why wasn't I notified? Which is really kind of a silly question because, you know, they were just doing their job. They said that they had put out notices that this was going to happen, but I guess I just ignored that. So the reason I'm sharing that with you is because, again, my brain, my mind, my body had said enough. And that sign, the stop sign, which for me came with the power going out, was as an indicator, like, I feel God was saying, enough is enough. You need to stop. And I'm going to put this obstacle in your way so that you do, so that you take care of you. So if you can relate to any of this, I know that it really is time for you to take a step back and reassess how you're living your life, because self-awareness is so key here. Recognizing the early indicators is going to really help you prevent a downward spiral into burnout, into overexhaustion, overwhelm, frustration, irritation, procrastination, loss of focus, loss of motivation, not having time with your family. It's also when you take care of you, it's going to allow you to maintain healthier, more balanced approach to your work, to your life. But it does start with you acknowledging what's happening, assessing how you're living your life before all of this starts to happen, and burnout decides to put up a stop sign right in front of your face, like it did with me. And then you'll have no choice but to take the time. And it could be extended leaves of absence, and you could find yourself in crisis and burnout syndrome. I found myself in the full-on emotional burnout, and it really took many weeks for me to recover. And I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news here, but what I am trying to do is help you to keep yourself accountable to taking care of you so that you don't end up in full-on burnout like I did, and multiple other women that I've talked to over the last couple of years that have been telling me about their own burnout stories. So why does this really matter? Well, I'll tell you why. There's a cost, right? When you ignore the signs, especially when the signs are so clear, they're staring you in the face, and you are ignoring them, because it really is really easy. It is so easy to brush off the signs of stress and overwork, because after all, we live in a society that often glorifies being busy and hustling nonstop. But when we ignore the messages that our body and our minds are telling us, they're sending us those messages, it can have serious consequences. There's definitely a cost of ignoring your signs. When you constantly override your own needs, whether it's skipping your meals, pushing through fatigue, neglecting your mental and emotional well-being, whatever that is, what you're doing is you are essentially telling your body and your mind that their needs don't matter, that you don't matter. And this creates a disconnect between what your body requires and what you're demanding from it, and a disconnect between what your mind requires and what you're demanding of it, which can lead to chronic stress. So when you ignore these signs, it can lead to overwhelm. You can start to feel anxious and restless, struggling with sleepless nights. I know how that feels. I've been there. Your mind is racing with unfinished tasks. You're looming deadlines. You might even be woken up out of a dead sleep, like you're in a deep sleep, and you wake up panicking that you made a mistake with something, and you have to fix it, but it's only 3 a.m. and you have a few hours more until you can get up and fix it. Or worse, if you do work from home, you might actually get up and start working on it to fix it right away, because your mind is in panic mode and you can't sleep and you're exhausted the next day. So you might experience also the physical symptoms too, like muscle aches and pains. Aches and pains that creep up on you, and you find yourself asking, like, what did I do that my shoulders are so tight, or why is my lower back killing me? So, and I want you to really start thinking about this. If this is you, like if you are feeling any of these symptoms, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm really actually trying to make you aware that you need to start to make changes. It starts with you. Nobody can tell you what to do. It starts with you. You have to be willing to say, I'm willing, I'm ready, I'm not going to do this to myself anymore. I'm not going to push through exhausting, because what does it do? It has me at the end of my day too tired to play with my kids, too tired to sit with my significant other and have a conversation. I just want to roll into bed and wake up and just forget the day. You don't want that to be your lifestyle. I know that. I know that's what I didn't want and why I had to make changes for myself. Irritability also becomes more common because you find yourself snapping at your loved ones over the small things. At work, you might be missing deadlines, losing focus, procrastinating because you feel too overwhelmed to start. These are not just minor inconveniences. They're your body and your mind's way of telling you that you are running on empty and that you need to make a change. And it becomes less of a suggestion for change, but more of a non-negotiable that if things don't change, bad things are going to happen. So overworking or pushing through could put you in a downward spiral. You might think that overworking and pushing through is going to be the solution to just getting everything done already, but it's a short-term strategy with long-term consequences. So you may feel productive, but as you continue to push yourself beyond healthy limits, your efficiency and creativity is going to decline. And this is because your body and your brain are exhausted, and they're telling you that you're exhausted, but you're ignoring it. And you might find yourself even making more mistakes, becoming forgetful, even feeling resentful towards your work and those around you. And this spiral often leads to burnout, a state of complete physical, mental, emotional exhaustion where you are unable to function in your personal or professional life. So over time, the constant cycle of ignoring your needs and overexerting yourself is going to lead you into a phase of maybe burnout that you really don't want to go down. And I talk a lot about burnout because I really feel like a lot of the time we don't recognize that we're in burnout. But when you're feeling overwhelmed, anxious, procrastinating, loss of motivation, loss of focus, you're making mistakes, you're missing deadlines, you're not spending quality time with your family, all of the things in your life that your personal life are suffering, that's because you're in that phase where you're not paying attention to the signs and you're allowing yourself to go down that path. And it doesn't happen overnight. And that's what makes it so dangerous. It really begins with the subtle signs, right? Like feeling tired and you're saying, well, I'm only a little tired and I can get through this. But feeling a little tired can happen more often, where then it leads into feeling more fatigued. You start to lose your enthusiasm for things that you really loved to do before, and maybe you feel anxious at the thought of starting your day. And gradually, these feelings are going to intensify, and you'll find yourself dreading work, dreading opening up your laptop or stepping into your office, feeling detached from your loved ones, struggling with feeling empty or trapped, and can have really, really severe severe repercussions on your health and can even impact, again, your relationships and your overall quality of life. So when I tell you all of this, it's because this is a lived experience for me, and more than once. I'm not coming to you with hypotheticals here. I'm really coming to you with real life lived experience around burnout. And my story isn't unique to me alone. Like I said, I've had several conversations with women just like you who've all experienced burnout, and some have experienced it multiple times. So it's really important that you listen to your body and you listen to your mind, because they are constantly communicating with you. Fatigue, irritability, stress, they're not just inconveniences to push through your day. They are signals to you that something needs to change. And ignoring these signals doesn't make them go away. It just postpones the inevitable, often making it worse. So listening to your mind and body and taking action when you notice the early signs is your way of preserving your health, maintaining your productivity, and most importantly, protecting your well-being. And when you push yourself too hard, I want you to understand that it's not a badge of honor. It's really a dangerous pattern that can rob you of your health. It can rob you of your happiness. It can ultimately rob you of your quality of life. By paying attention to what your body and your mind are telling you and making changes when needed, making sure that you take care of yourself every single day, every moment of every single day, you're not only going to prevent burnout, as I talk a lot about, but you're actively choosing a path that honors your well-being and allows you to thrive in the long run. So as promised, I want to share with you a strategy that you can start using today so that you maintain a balanced approach to your work and life. One of the most effective ways to set boundaries is through the language you use. So it's not about just saying no, which is a complete sentence, by the way. It's about how you say it and what you communicate when you do. So as an example, often we feel the need to justify or over-explain when we say no, right? We go into making all these excuses of why we can't do this, or why it won't work. And this can lead to guilt or feeling like we have to compromise our boundaries and say yes, right? And so instead of saying, no, I can't, we end up saying yes, and we overwhelm ourselves. We overextend our time and our energy. We overwhelm our calendar. We take away those moments that we have set aside for ourselves, filling it with work. We take away those moments that with our children, with our significant other, with our friends, with our extended family, because we're always pushing ourselves to say, we're saying yes to everything. When you don't understand, when you don't use the word no as a complete sentence without having to follow up to justify it. So I would say practice saying no with confidence, knowing that it is a complete sentence. For example, let's say you're asked to take on an additional project that you don't have the bandwidth for, like you really just don't. You can just say, no, I'm not able to take that on right now. Period. That's it. No need for further explanation. However, if saying no outright really feels too abrupt, or the situation requires a bit more flexibility, you can use not right now, and then offer an alternative solution that works for you. For example, maybe when you get asked to do something, before you respond, you can ask, well, when do you need this by? So you can get a clear understanding of the task, of the ask, of the urgency of it. And when you understand that, then it will allow you to respond. It will allow you to think it through, to respond. And you could say something like, not right now, but I can take a look at this on Friday. Or if the timeline needs to be a little bit more like right now, or more in line with as soon as possible, you could say, well, not right now, but I can do this first thing in the morning. And this way, what you're doing is you're acknowledging the request, right? Without sacrificing your current boundaries around your time and energy. You're also managing expectations with a solution that fits your schedule. And it also shows that you are still willing to help. And remember, when you're not using the not right now language, if you don't look after you and protect your time and energy, and you do end up taking on more than you can chew, that's going to leave you vulnerable to getting sick, to making mistakes because you rush or you push through, you're tired, and it doesn't serve you, nor does it serve the other person well. So by being mindful of your language, you can set clear and respectful boundaries that protect your well-being, which is your time and your energy, which I know time is a valuable commodity. I think it's our most valuable commodity. And so when you take care of your time and your energy and still communicate your needs effectively, strategically, I should say, or effectively with others, not only helps you maintain control over your time and your energy, but it also really reinforces your commitment to prioritizing self-care and prioritizing yourself, because that's really important. Like you prioritize everything on your calendar, but if you're not prioritizing taking care of you, there's things on your calendar you're not going to be able to do well, or you might overwhelm your calendar to the point where you go through all of the list of things that I've named out, like many times throughout this live video. And so really this approach will provide a structured way for you to communicate your limits without you feeling guilty or pressured, helping you maintain a balanced approach to your work and your life. Now, a couple of days ago, a good friend of mine told me that she was feeling like she was in a funk. And I immediately said that we all get that way, right? And it's true. We all get that way, but it's also important that we extend ourselves grace. We're not always going to be able to be on, because there are going to be those moments. And it could have been that she'd been pushing herself so much that she ended up getting into like maybe a slight phase of burnout where her body and her mind were exhausted or really, really fatigued, and she just needed to take a break. So I then shared with her something I received in my email, which is part of an email list that I get Monday through Friday. It's called Notes from the Universe by a guy named 𝗦𝗲𝗍𝗂. And I shared with her the email that I thought really spoke to being in a funk and what it could possibly mean. And so I want to share it with you, especially if you find yourself in a funk right now, or you feel like you have to be doing something every single minute of the day, which I know is often true for a lot of high achievers. You know, we think that we always have to be feeling every moment of our day. So here's what it said. What if funky, confusing, gray, lonely days were just part of a system that in turn created bright, rich, happy, friendly days? What if they were just meant to give deeper elements of your creativity a rest? What if they were deliberately crafted holidays of a sort, devised by your inner psyche to relieve you from the pressure of unimportant expectations? Would you still bemoan them, wonder what's wrong with you, or fear that they'll never end? Or would they kind of tickle you pink? That's how they ended it. And I thought that was really cute. But meaning sometimes we all have those days, and it's okay for us to slow down because maybe that's what we really need to do. But unless we actually do that, we're going to push ourselves beyond our limits and end up in a place where that proverbial stop sign does step up into your face and you're like, whoa, I can't do anything. I don't have the motivation. I'm frustrated, irritated, anxious, overwhelmed. I can't focus. I'm fighting with everyone all the time. My family, my husband, my children. I don't have time for me. I'm so overwhelmed. You don't want to get to that place. And I understand that. So that is why I wanted to talk to you about this today, because I know if this is you watching, you are pushing yourself too hard, and it's time for you to take a step back and really think about how you're living your life. So as promised, here are some reflective questions for you to think about. What are the signs that are telling you it's time to slow down, and how often do you listen to them? Because we all have signs. They are happening around you. Even if you think you don't have signs, if you took a moment to really think about it, you do have signs. When was the last time you felt overwhelmed or overcommitted? And what was the underlying reason you said yes instead of saying no or not right now? Which allows you to honor your boundaries, because there are going to be things. You could be that people pleaser. You could be someone who is afraid to say no. You want to be the go-to person, and you feel that if you say no, that people aren't going to think that you are agreeable or that someone that they can rely on. So think about that. Are you that person that says yes all the time and you don't know how to say no or not right now? How do you typically respond when your body or mind signals that you need a break? Do you pause and listen, or do you find yourself pushing through? Because I guarantee that if you are getting those signs, we all get the signs, if we're pushing through and our body and our brain are letting us know there are signs there. And if you are not taking the time to really listen to them and you're pushing through, you are not doing yourself a favor. All right. Before I sign off, I wanted to share that I recently helped a copywriter and strategist who was finding it really hard to balance her business demands with her personal life. She was pushing through exhaustion, unable to concentrate on her client projects, and she felt stuck in a cycle of burnout. So with my holistic balance and success audit that I provided for her, it was a detailed analysis with actionable steps to help her regain control and boost her productivity. Once she got that, she immediately implemented just one of the recommendations that I provided, and she saw a difference. She said in just a few days that she was able to break free from the overwhelm and complete her client work with renewed energy and focus. So the holistic balance and success audit is really just an audit where you provide me with the information. I send you a questionnaire, you complete it. I then do a deep dive analysis of it. I provide you a written report as well as a video report, and that will go through your gaps, your strengths, room for improvement. Will uncover hidden things that you might not have been really recognizing that are hidden dangers, and then I will send that back to you. This is more than just advice. It really is a roadmap to regaining control over your time, your energy, and your well-being. And you will be amazed at how small shifts really can create big results. So with that being said, I have 25 spots available. Yes, you heard right, 25. To get a holistic balance and success audit. And if you want your detailed and customized self-care plan, then DM me and I will send you the link to get started. Remember, it's not selfish to put yourself on your calendar, to put self-care on your calendar, to take care of you. I believe that self-care is the lifeblood to our success in life and business, because when you take care of yourself really well, you show up as the best version of yourself in the things that you do for yourself and the people that you are surrounded with. You show up in those relationships in a whole different way. Like it just changes for you when you take care of you. So listen to your inner voice, respect your boundaries, and always put your well-being first. And you will find yourself leaning into and living a life you truly love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.